I kept hearing about this woman named Ruth. I believe God just kept putting the name Ruth into my head, and I believe He wanted me to read the story of Ruth. So I did some research, and it's amazing what I found out about this wonderful woman. So please let me share this story about Ruth and how we should all be a little bit more like her. Hey everyone, my name is Chuck McGee, and this is Sharing the Word of God. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I wanted to do this video so badly because I read up on this wonderful woman named Ruth, and I wanted to share it all with you. See, Ruth lost her husband, her brother, and father-in-law, and made the very difficult decision to stay with her mother-in-law, Naomi. See, Ruth was a Moabite, and they served false gods, and they were also known as defiled people. See, Ruth got close to God, so she wanted to stay and serve a true living God. She didn't want to go back home and serve false gods. She made a commitment to her husband's God and another true commitment to her mother-in-law, a commitment that she would never leave her side. At one point, Ruth even told Naomi, "Your people are my people. Your God is my God. Where you will go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. And where you are buried, I also will be buried." Obviously, you can see that Ruth had a special love for her mother-in-law and a special love for God. See, Ruth's unbelievable faith in God allowed her to move on with Naomi, even knowing that where they were going, she would not be accepted by God's people. Take a minute and think about what Ruth really did in that situation. Back then, they didn't have the communication that we have today. So once she made that decision to up and leave her family, there was no turning back. She had that much faith in God and what God was going to do for her life. See, Ruth was a wonderful woman. She had an open mind and a teachable spirit, so that she always listened to her mother-in-law Naomi and all the advice that she would give her. And the one piece of advice that Naomi always gave Ruth was to trust in the Lord always. God commended Ruth for her faith, good character, loyalty, faithfulness, and courage. He even rewarded Ruth with not only a husband, but a son, a grandson, and even a great-grandson named David, the king of Israel. And that wasn't all that God did. God gave Ruth the blessing of being listed in the lineage of Jesus. As you can see, Ruth is an awesome example on how God can change a life and take it in a direction that He has foreordained. And reading Ruth's story, you can see how God is working out His perfect plan in her life, just as He does with all of His children. Now, although Ruth came from a pagan background in Moab, once she met the God of Israel, she became a living testimonial to Him by faith. Even though she lived in humble circumstances before marrying Boaz, she believed strong enough and had faith that God believed in all of His people. Also, Ruth is a wonderful example in how God rewards faithfulness. And we all know that without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone that comes to Him must believe that He exists and that He rewards all of us who earnestly seek Him. While doing the research of this amazing story, I actually read where someone said that when she dies, she can't wait to meet Ruth and give her a hug. And I got to be honest with you, I read this story several times, and it's extremely touching. It's a wonderful story about how someone just left everything that they knew and devoted their lives to God and to her mother-in-law, and went to work and did everything that she could to show faith in the Lord, and look what the Lord gave to her. It's a fabulous story. Here are a few other awesome women in the Bible. Miriam, a prophet credited in Micah as leading the nation of Israel, along with her brothers Moses and Aaron. Deborah, called by God as a prophet and leader of the Israelite nation, she delivered the people from their enemies and brought peace to the land. Tabitha, a disciple who Peter raised from the dead, she championed the plight of the poor. And Priscilla, a teacher in the early church, she and her husband started house churches on 2 continents and instructed some of the foremost teachers of the emerging church. Hey, I want to thank you for all taking the time and listening to the story about this wonderful woman named Ruth. I have to be honest with you, I've read over it and heard her name, but as I studied it today, I actually formed a great love for her and passion for what she was and what she taught others and how she became, and just honoring God. And it just makes me strive to be that much better as a person. And so I wanted to share all that with you, and I hope it encourages all of you to maybe be a little bit more like Ruth. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to watching this video. If you are not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell icon. It'll give you an indication that I am releasing a video to all of you. And I want to thank all of my subscribers. You guys are just awesome. You're making this community grow and so much fun. Again, I wanted to share this wonderful story of Ruth today, and I feel like I'm a better person knowing Ruth. So with that being said, my name is Chuck McGee. This is Sharing the Word of God. Have a wonderful day.